Love, Lies, and Latanya. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee usually filled their small apartment by 7 a.m., a ritual Daniel cherished. It was his signal to wake up, greet Latanya with a kiss, and start their day together. But this morning, the scent seemed thinner, less potent, mirroring the unease that had settled in his gut over the past few weeks. Latanya was a whirlwind of energy, a graphic designer whose creativity spilled over into every aspect of her life. He loved that about her. Her laughter was infectious, her spirit bright, and their life together, for the most part, was a vibrant tapestry of shared dreams and comfortable silences. But lately, the laughter seemed strained, the brightness dimmed. She'd been working late more often, citing a demanding new project at the firm. He understood the pressures of work. He was an accountant, familiar with deadlines and long hours himself. What bothered him was the secrecy, the deflected questions, the way she'd clutch her phone a little tighter whenever he entered the room. He tried to brush it off as stress, a temporary phase. He made her favorite meals, offered back rubs, and tried to engage her in conversations about things they both enjoyed. But she remained distant, her responses clipped, her eyes holding a secret he couldn't decipher. Today, however, seemed different. Latanya burst through the door at 8 p.m., her face flushed, her eyes sparkling. She was laughing, a genuine, unburdened sound he hadn't heard in weeks. "Daniel, you won't believe what happened," she exclaimed, throwing her purse onto the sofa. "We finally landed the Miller account." The champagne was flowing. Everyone was celebrating. It was insane. He felt a surge of relief wash over him. Maybe things were finally turning around. "That's fantastic, baby. I'm so proud of you," he said, pulling her into a hug. He breathed in her familiar floral perfume, trying to ignore the faint, unfamiliar musk that lingered beneath it. "We went to this karaoke bar after," she continued, still bubbling with excitement. "Oh my God. You should have seen Mark trying to sing Bohemian Rhapsody. It was a disaster." Mark. The name pricked at him like a thorn. Mark was a colleague Latanya had mentioned a few times, always in passing, always with a casual air. But for some reason, the name felt significant now, a piece of the puzzle he couldn't quite fit. They ate dinner, reheated leftovers from the night before, while Latanya recounted the evening in vivid detail. She seemed genuinely happy, radiating the vibrant energy he had missed so much. He allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, his anxieties were unfounded. Later, as Latanya showered, Daniel sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He was about to put it down when he noticed Latanya's phone lying on the coffee table. It was the same model as his, sleek and black, but hers was usually glued to her hand. It was unlocked, the screen displaying a message notification. He knew he shouldn't. Trust was the foundation of their marriage, and snooping was a violation. But the nagging feeling, the unease that had been gnawing at him for weeks, overwhelmed his better judgment. He told himself he just needed to quell his anxieties, to confirm that his suspicions were baseless. He told himself it was for the good of their marriage. With trembling hands, he picked up her phone. He quickly navigated to her gallery, justifying his actions to himself with each tap. He would just check the photos from the karaoke night, see the celebratory snapshots, and put his mind at ease. The first few photos were exactly what he expected. Blurry shots of colleagues raising glasses, selfies with goofy expressions, a picture of Mark attempting to hold a microphone while looking thoroughly embarrassed. He felt a wave of shame wash over him. He was being paranoid, insecure. He was about to put the phone down when he saw it. A thumbnail, small and indistinct, but enough to send a jolt of cold dread through his veins. He clicked on it. The image that filled the screen was like a punch to the gut. It was Latanya, her eyes closed, her hair disheveled, her clothes partially undone. And then there was Mark, his face flushed, his hand reaching. Daniel couldn't bear to look. He scrolled frantically through the gallery, each picture a searing brand on his soul. There were dozens of them, each more explicit than the last. Images of stolen moments, of secret rendezvous, of a betrayal so profound it left him reeling. Numbly, he put the phone back on the coffee table, his hands shaking so violently he almost dropped it. He felt like he was underwater. The sounds of the shower muffled, the world distorted. LaTonya emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, her hair damp. She smiled at him, a genuine, loving smile that felt like a slap in the face. "Everything okay, babe?" she asked, reaching for her phone. He watched her, his heart pounding in his chest, his mind struggling to process the images he had just seen. He couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. She picked up her phone, her smile faltering as she saw the gallery open. Her eyes widened in horror, her face draining of color. The towel slipped slightly, but she didn't seem to notice. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Who is he, LaTonya?" He finally managed to choke out, the words thick with pain and betrayal. "Who is Mark?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "Daniel, I can explain," she stammered, her voice trembling. "Explain? Explain what? Explain these pictures? Explain how you could do this to me?" He roared, his voice raw with anger and disbelief. He stood up, pacing the room, his hands clenched into fists. "It just happened," she sobbed, sinking onto the couch. "It was a mistake. I swear. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything? These pictures say otherwise, LaTonya. These pictures show you betraying me, lying to me, destroying everything we built together." He saw the guilt in her eyes, the shame that finally surfaced. But it wasn't enough. The damage was done. The trust, the foundation of their marriage, was shattered. "How long?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. "How long has this been going on?" She hesitated, her eyes darting around the room. "A few months," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "A few months. A few months of lies, of deceit, of stolen moments while he was working, while he was trying to build a life for them. The pain was unbearable, a gaping wound that threatened to consume him. He looked at her, at the woman he had loved, the woman he had trusted, and he saw a stranger. He saw someone who had been living a double life, someone who had been playing him for a fool. "I want you to leave," he said, his voice cold and devoid of emotion. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Daniel, please," she begged, crawling towards him. "Don't do this. We can work through this. I promise it will never happen again." He stepped back, recoiling from her touch. "There is no we anymore, LaTonya. You destroyed it. You destroyed us." He watched her, his heart breaking into a million pieces as she gathered her things, her shoulders shaking with sobs. He watched her walk out the door, the sound of the closing door echoing in the empty apartment. He was alone. The aroma of coffee, once a symbol of their shared life, now filled the air, a bitter reminder of what he had lost. He picked up LaTonya's phone, the screen still displaying the incriminating images. With a surge of anger, he threw it against the wall, shattering it into a million pieces. He sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands, and wept. He wept for the love he had lost, for the trust that had been betrayed, for the future that had been stolen. He wept for the man he used to be, the man who had believed in forever. Now all that was left was the silence, the emptiness, and the stark reality of a marriage irrevocably broken. The moral of the story is that trust is the foundation of any relationship, and once broken, it is nearly impossible to rebuild. Betrayal doesn't just destroy love. It shatters the very essence of what holds two people together.